following article is from March 1962, and I'm sure that the methods used by vending machine companies today is much more complicated and technical than what's described in here. This article, called How Coin Machines Detect Phony Money, I found particularly interesting, even though it is from decades ago. So I hope you'll enjoy it too. It's by C.P. Gilmore, and again, it's called How Coin Machines Detect Phony Money. Drop a coin into a soft drink or cigarette machine. For about a second, you'll hear a series of metallic clunks and gurgles while the machine decides if the coin you deposited is a product of the U.S. Mint or if you make your own. The mechanical money manipulator that separates the bogus from the bona fide is the latest weapon in a battle that started more than a half a century ago between machine makers and those who consider the robot salesman a challenge. These slug rejector machines, some companies call their product coin acceptors, are miniature but highly sophisticated testing laboratories. They gobble up nickels, dimes, quarters, and perhaps pennies, and halves as well, depending on design. They run each coin through an obstacle course of tests, spot the species, accept the authentic, and spit slugs back at you as fast as you can shove them in. It wasn't always that way, though. Early in the century, when vending machines were just coming into general use, the country was a The country was a machine slugger's paradise from coast to coast. The early robot retailers would gulp down almost anything roughly the right size. The slug didn't even have to be metal. One operator found his machine empty of merchandise. The cash box was damp but empty. He finally discovered the secret. One painstaking slugger had made a batch of nickel-sized molds, filled them with water, froze them, and he could clean out the machine in minutes. Furthermore, the evidence melted almost immediately. Other slugs were easier to carry than the ice and worked just as well. By the late 1920s, light-fingered linotypists could make a mold and, from the molten metal in their machines, cast a pocketful of slugs automatically. Iron washers the right size would work in many machines, as would aluminum mills used to collect taxes in some states, fiberboard tokens, and a variety of homemade phony cash. Claude Treman, president of Coin Acceptors Incorporated, one of the leading manufacturers, told me how he remembers seeing some kids in his neighborhood make money. They simply put nickels on a streetcar track, turned them over after each car passed, and measured them against a genuine quarter until they were the right size. Not everyone was so ambitious, though. But no matter, if you didn't want to make your own, it wasn't hard to find a commercial product that would work. Pulp magazines of the day carried blatant ads for slugs the size of a dime. Price, 10 for a penny. And the ad shouted in bold type, not to be used in vending machines, just in case any reader was slow to catch on. About that time, a young New Englander, who was to play an important part in the battle against sluggers, entered the scene. The time, 1928. Nathaniel Leverone, a slim young man waiting for an elevated train in Chicago, put a penny into a platform scale. He weighed 208 pounds. Startled, he stepped on another scale, deposited another coin, found that he now weighed 70 pounds. A penny in a chocolate machine produced a dull clunk, but no candy. Madder by the minute, Leverone put a fourth coin into a peanut machine. Out came 6 moldy objects. I wouldn't have fed those to a billy goat, he later said. Leverone figured that there must be room in the world for a firm that would make and operate an accurate, honest, reliable vending machine. He put up $5,000, found 11 friends willing to do the same, and established the Automatic Canteen Company, today one of the giants of the industry. But Leverone's young company almost didn't make it. He hadn't counted on the slug menace. Leverone was in trouble before he knew it. He found that he was taking in more slugs than money, $30,000 worth the first year. Automatic Canteen, along with other firms in the business, went to work in earnest to beat the sluggers. Most machines at that time used a coin collecting slide. You put your coin in a circular hole, shove the slide and coin into the machine. The first improvement on this easy-to-beat mechanism, a magnet next to the slot where the coins dropped. It jerked iron slugs out of the track and into the rejection chute. Next, a 3-fingered probe was installed to grab washers. But slug makers were clever. Each new rejection device was followed at lightning speed by a slug that would get past it. In fast order, machine designers added a small anvil on which coins had to bounce. A coin too hard or too soft, too elastic or not elastic enough, bounced out. A set of iron fingers made precise measurements of the coin's diameter and thickness. Next, engineers figured out a way to measure a coin's electrical resistance, and thus its metallic content, using a purely mechanical system. Here's how the ingenious system, which is used in all rejectors to this day, works. A coin that gets through the sizing mechanism and past the fingers that jerk out washers now falls on an inclined plane. As it rolls down the decline, it passes between two magnets, then shoots off to the end of the inclined plane in an arcing trajectory determined by its speed. If it is traveling at the proper speed, it hits a small anvil at exactly the right place, bounces into another carefully calculated arc, and falls precisely into the accept slot. If the coin is of a magnetic substance, iron for example, it never gets past the magnets. It sticks there, then is thrown into the rejection chute when the customer presses the coin release button. But even if the coin is non-magnetic, silver or copper, for example, the magnets play an important part in testing it. As the coin rolls between the magnets, it acts like a small electrical generator. It is, in effect, a piece of metal cutting magnetic lines of force, the same thing that happens in a generator. This sets up a small electrical currents called eddy currents in the coin. The eddy currents produce magnetic fields of their own, which tend to oppose the magnetic fields of the fixed magnets. The net result? Two fields fight, and the coin is slowed down. Furthermore, the better the conductor a particular coin is, the greater the eddy current that is induced, and the more the coin is slowed down. When it rolls off the end of the inclined plane, if it is not rolling at exactly the right speed, it sails into the wrong trajectory and is rejected. The test proved to be extremely sensitive, so that a minute change in the coin's metallic composition would cause it to be rejected even if its size and weight were perfect. The magnetic resistance test worked so well that by the time of the Chicago World's Fair in 1933, machine operators thought that they had slug makers beat. But a strange new development began showing up, not only at the fair, but all across the country. Machine after machine was found empty of both merchandise and money. Here's what was happening. Crooks were drilling tiny holes in coins, attaching a fine thread. They'd drop the coin in the slot, get the merchandise, and pull the coin back out. A machine could be emptied in short order this way without depositing a single coin into the till. To fight the trick, engineers put snippers in all machines to cut the strings. When somebody figures out a way to beat the machine, said Leverone, it goes from coast to coast in a flash. We lost a fortune before we got snippers in all of our machines. Over the years, as slug makers have designed better and better homemade money, coin acceptors have been continually improved and refined to meet these threats. One of the biggest improvements came in the middle 1930s when an engineer named Ben Fry thought up a clever gadget called a cradle, now standard in all machines. It's nothing more than a pivoted plate with two pins attached. A coin falls between the two pins. If it is the right weight and size, the plate pivots and drops it into the proper chute. Otherwise, it is rejected. The cradle, in effect, weighs a coin and checks its diameter faster and more accurately than any device previously used. It also made possible today's versatile rejector, which can accept 3 or 4 different coins, dimes, nickels, and quarters, for example, all through the same slot. Each coin simply falls through the quarter, nickel, and dime cradle in that order. A coin won't be caught and pivoted through the proper accept channel until it hits the right cradle. Although slug rejectors were pretty good by the late 1930s, designers have continued to work to make them even better. Shortly before World War II, a number of peculiar silver, whitish slugs began showing up around Canton, Ohio. They were getting through the coin rejectors, and operators were in trouble. About the same time, copper slugs the size of a quarter began to be accepted in West Virginia by coin machines that should have known better. Engineers got busy on both problems. The metal in the white Ohio slugs they found was German silver, a mixture of copper, zinc, and nickel. It was traced to a nearby tableware plant where some employees had made a die and were punching out the worthless wampum from scrap. The West Virginia slugs were made from a rare super refined copper stock that was used in nearby electric plants. In both cases, the remedy was the same. The slugs, expertly made, were accurate enough in size and weight to get through. Their electrical resistance was close too, but engineers found that they just barely passed the test. The answer? Stronger magnets. These separated the trajectories of genuine and fake quarters a little more and did the trick. Robot salesmen are still not perfect, but it takes a real expert to be able to fool them these days. And that concludes the article. I hope you enjoyed it, and where there's a will, there's a way, right? Thanks for tuning in and listening, and if you enjoyed this, please be sure to subscribe to the Dennis Morrison channel and click that bell icon so you're informed of when any new videos are uploaded, and I upload videos almost every day. Have a great day. God bless you all. Bye-bye.